Alright guys, welcome back to J-Face Games. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to keep rolling with this idea we recently came up with, is looking at board games and trying to figure out what mechanics we like from those board games and how we would then put them into a tabletop game to simulate some sort of mechanic that we are looking for the tabletop game. Last time we talked about Pandemic. Today we're going to talk about a game called Flamme Rouge. It's a biking game. It's a game, if you haven't played this, it probably became popularized by the YouTube channel Shut Up and Sit Down. Those guys definitely know me as an audience, and they're definitely the ones that got me interested in this game. They made it sound so fun. I've played it, I own it, I love it. It's a great game. It's a great quick card game, it's a race game, but it has a very interesting twist in how you're racing, okay? So, the mechanic at hand here is this. This is your player board. So this is 3 players, 4 players, there's another one. And in essence, you have 2 racers. So this is the black team, and you can see there's one racer and there's another one. They're different types of racers. One of them's a sprinter, and one of them is starts with an R. It's like a roulette or something. My guess is it's like a pacer. The pace guy and then the sprinter. They both have their own decks of cards, and what makes this game really interesting for you as a player is that it's a pre-programming movement game, right? Where what I'm going to do, and everyone's going to do at the same time, is you pick up one of these decks. You have to choose. Am I going to pick up my sprinter deck or my roulette deck? And I draw 4 cards off the top. I then look at those cards, and I have to choose which one of those cards I'm going to be playing this turn. And what's fascinating about that is I have no idea what the options are for my other racer until I've programmed this one. So I take this rouletter and I say, you know what, he's going to go really far. I'm going to put an 8 out, or 7. And I put it face down right here, or here. You put it face down right here. And then I draw these 4 and I go, oh crap, you know, he can only go 3 spaces. I'm going to outpace my own guy. And then what happens is everyone then, you know, you move from the farthest guy back, farthest guy forward first, and they kind of go around the track, and there's all kinds of slipstreaming, etc., etc. But what I like is this mechanic of I have to make a decision before I know all the other variables, because once again there's drama there. There's, you know, it adds the unpredictability. What I think could be cool with this is that I would not want this as my RPG mechanic for running my actual character, because that would be taxing. That's too often you're having to make that kind of, like, if I'm doing this every round with a player, that's impossible. That's too much, because that takes you out of the game. But if, for instance, you are doing what I think would be interesting is if you're doing like mass combat, and you have your party has an army, or your party has, maybe it's not mass combat, but maybe it's some sort of, I've got allies that I have to manage. This could be really cool to do that with your allies. Say this deck of cards are special abilities, basic attack, basic movements, basic stuff. Or if it's military, if this is my, you know, dwarven soldiers and these are my elven archers or something along those lines, or these are my, you know, centaur cavalry. If I've got a big combat going on, now I've got my party that I'm still messing with and we're doing stuff, but there's the bigger battlefield that's going on, and it could be something as simple as this mechanic where you're having to make these decisions and you don't know what, you know, is technically available. You're having to make snap decisions as the battlefield's changing, and so I like that. So I could think of using it in that sense. I'd love to hear from you guys what you guys think. You know, so far in my brain, I think of it as, in a smaller scale would be my, like, little allies, like maybe my servants, or, you know, sword bearer, or, you know, my entourage, or maybe it's your, you know, mass combat. Or if you only have one friend and it's a 1v1, you know, situation where I'm the DM and that's the one player, maybe this is the rest of the party, where you build out these quick little decks. Because I can say that one thing that can get really frustrating as a DM is when you give the players an NPC, and what does that NPC become? They just become fodder. They become chaff. You know, it's like, oh, so-and-so's gonna walk into that dark room. No, they wouldn't. And you as a DM can try and step in a little bit, but how about you build in a mechanic where it forces the player to, you know, make decisions sort of retroactively. or with, it's like hidden information type scenario. And so it makes it a little more dynamic. You'd have to probably go easier on them as the DM in terms of you wouldn't build encounters that are brutal, because you obviously get to make full decisions with all your NPCs, or maybe you as a DM have a little bit of NPC type stuff, like, you know, very generic, very general. So anyways, that's Flamme Rouge. That's the mechanic I love. That's the idea I first had with it in terms of turning it into a tabletop RPG style game. There's gonna be more of these because I got plenty of board games here and more in the attic. And so I'm just gonna go through a couple. All right, tune in next time, guys. Don't forget to hit the bell and hit the subscribe button. I'll talk to you guys soon.